Hi, and welcome to the Photographer Podcast. I'm Adam Juniper, and this is Tanya Nagar. And with us today is Dan M. Lee.
Hello. How are you doing?
I'm all right. I didn't give you a chance to acknowledge your presence.
Right, I'm doing well.
Fair enough. I've had a really busy week. I've just been in the office, or month, in fact. I've barely seen the outside world, so it's probably not worth asking how I am. How about you?
I'm really good. I'm severely jet lagged. Just spent a week in sunny San Francisco, so can't really complain. But I'm suffering now for it.
So if you've not yet gone back and listened to our episode 0, where Tanya had just come back from Japan, she's just come back from San Francisco now, so someone has quite the life. And what about you, Dan?
I'm good. I'm also jet lagged. I flew over from New York last. When did we meet? Last
week.
Last week at some point. I can't remember because all the days seem to be mashed into one. Then I went to Amsterdam to cover King's Day. That was pretty cool and very wearing for various reasons. And I'm back today, and then I'm going back to New York tomorrow, and then I'll be going back to New San Francisco the week after. I'm going to San Jose with Sony, so
nice.
That's going to be interesting. By the time I get back, I'm really not going to know what time it is. Back being New York, where
Would you want to know what time it is?
Yeah.
So let's take a moment to introduce you. So how long have you been in photography?
A long time, I would say 15 years as a professional. Before that, I was always I'd studied for photography, and it was something I'd always been very interested in getting into full time, so to speak.
So was it photography that sort of sucked you away from the UK?
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So when I moved to New York, I had no other skill to rely on, so to speak. So I was just shooting when I was there. So I started doing events. I did do the odd wedding. I'm starting to do less and less of them now. But I created the workshops that I had created in the UK to help teach photographers in the studio. And that went very well. And we've now released a new marketing course that we're taking across the US, which helps photographers increase their business in their chosen field.
Cool. All right. So, I mean, I also know that you do some music events.
Yeah, I do those too.
So, what kind of music?
This is mainly the large-scale events. So, I've done some large-scale festivals here and in the US, and they're good fun. They normally last 3 days. By the end of it, again, you're absolutely dead on your feet. But they're good fun to shoot. You get to meet some amazing people, some amazing characters, and the particularly for the events that go on for a long period of time, you've got the challenge of night coming along and the different light sequences that come up that can throw off your composition. So it's a real big challenge to shoot those big events. Indoor events, I've shot The Neighbourhood. I shot a ton of other people. Gregory Porter, all indoors, and again that first show throws up the low light issue, so you have to be very careful with your camera and lens choice to shoot those large scale events.
I know you do some of that as well, no?
Yeah, I used to do more of it before, mostly when I was younger and wanted to blag free concert, just
because you're old now.
No, it was just a different kind of different hobby, I guess.
Didn't it work?
But did it work, did you say?
For blagging a free concert?
Oh, absolutely. So, you
I've
just
got a camera.
I've got a real camera because, a few years ago...
Oh, it's planning ahead. It's, dear so-and-so, I have a camera.
Exactly. I have a camera. It was great, actually, because I'd actually offered the photos to the bands or magazines or whatever, whoever wanted to use them, but it was a bit of blagging, really, just kind of writing in saying I work for so-and-so. And that wasn't actually a lie. I did work for, certain magazines and just kind of say, hey, I have a camera and I'd love to shoot the band, and I just go in and practice. Yeah.
So I was going to go in with a different bit for photo news, because I thought we should start with the news. That's what everyone else does, right? I'm carefully avoiding this camera's out, this camera's out, this camera out, because I can't afford them, so that makes me sad. But I don't know if you saw that someone called Adrienne Rose Smith, I'm guessing, got herself into an interesting debate after taking photographs for a band. They used them for free, and she wrote to them asking for $50, and they sent a stream of abuse in chat form, which is well worth Googling. Sadly, I don't have any bits of it with me. But, I mean, calling her all sorts of names.
Really?
Yeah. For daring to ask for anything.
I have not heard about this.
That's crazy. Now, I know that when I've done some music events in the past, sometimes you have to sign a disclaimer to say that the bands can use your image. I generally try to avoid that best I can, but some of the big artists do. So it's up to you if you want to sign that kind of thing. So I would, I'm curious to know if they did actually sign that, or if they were aware of the terms and conditions when they started shooting. I don't know the ins and outs of the story, so you have to.
This is interesting.
But Taylor
so,
Swift,
as I understand it, she deliberately hasn't, said what the record label is.
Right. Okay.
That's probably a wise thing to do too. But didn't Taylor Swift do something similar a while ago? She stopped some photographer using images, or she'd used them. I can't remember. It was one of the other way around.
I think a few artists don't like themselves being shot from a certain angle as well. So they specify that they can't be shot head on.
That's right. So
it's crazy, right? Because you think it's just photojournalism. At the end of the day, they're performing, but and all the people with their phones, and they, it's just,
that's an interesting thing. But here they had used them in what was, any material from the band is promotional material. I'm just going to read a little bit out. From here, you are not to contact my band, blank. You have been nothing but greedy and disrespectful about your half-assed photos. $50? You have to be joking. You don't even have a following or a portfolio to back up these prices. Prices aside, you're extremely rude for demanding money and constantly harassing my clients, even though they haven't used your image to make a profit, which would seem to be a slight misunderstanding of promotional use of images.
That's right, yeah.
Unreal. I love the typo as well.
Oh yeah.
Whoever was typing that out was just angry, and didn't even check their spelling. Oh wow, that's a bit of an essay as well.
Oh, it carries on at some length.
Oh, these are messages to and from these, aren't they?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow. Good luck in this business, kiddo. How patronising. I want to know who this band. I'm going to do a bit of research, get on Twitter and find out who this band are.
It looks like it's worth looking up, and I don't want to be the one who outs them, since the photographer also doesn't want to out them particularly.
That's right.
You aren't a photographer yet, JYST, because you can hold a camera. You should learn that.
Oh, that person really should get sacked. Whoever they are, irrespective of the situation, that's just abuse.
Yeah.
Right?
Are they a PR or someone within the band's management, or did that come direct from the band?
It says it's from the band's record company.
Label.
The label.
And this was just today. This happened.
Well,
it happened a couple of
using
days
the word
ago,
today is awkward because, how long does it take Adam to edit a podcast?
Well, you've got a few hours before it needs to go up.
Fair enough.
Unreal.
Took me a week last time. But I learned some valuable lessons.
There we go.
Okay. The other thing I spotted in this week in the news was reported in The Independent was that... do you remember Tom of MySpace? Do you remember?
Oh, yeah.
Mike, yeah.
He was your friend. He was your friend.
My friend, too.
He was my friend. He was my only friend. And he got... we feel sorry for him, maybe, because Facebook. But he got $580 million, which in pre-Brexit collapse was £372 million, selling MySpace to a slightly crazy Rupert Murdoch. And now he just travels the world taking photos. You can find them at MySpace Tom, and he really does make it, look fun to have millions of pounds wandering around taking pictures.
That's an amazing story.
I can't imagine what it's like to have millions of pounds travelling the country or the globe. Sorry, that must be quite something.
It's actually quite good as well.
Is he?
It's well worth looking up. not one of these that I have the copyright to, so I'm not just going to publish or show on the screen.
Well, you'd be publicising him, really, wouldn't you?
Oh, so it'd be fine.
As opposed to
you're
for
right.
your benefit. It's more for his benefit, right?
You make a reasonable point.
There you go.
And one might argue that he's probably doing all right for Ken.
Well, this is it.
There you go. He's not too shabby, is he?
No, look at that. It's not bad at all.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Tom's everyone's friend. Wow. Where's that? Where did he take that one? Hawaii. Nice.
Hawaii again. Probably hard to take a bad picture in Hawaii. Although I still think presumably somebody is cowering under the...
They could be cardboard cutouts, of course.
I just wonder how still do those camels have
well, that's funny. Funny you should mention that. Because the last story... sorry, we were just looking at a picture of some camels in silhouette. You say there could be cardboard cutouts. Did you hear about the Wildlife Photographer of the Year?
Oh,
yeah, I did hear about this one.
With the taxidermied animals. Yeah, that's quite something. But I want to know is, I mean, a dead antler is... Anteater, sorry, is fairly sizable to carry around at the best of times.
Yeah.
And so how did he get away with carrying that under his arm where he needed to go, and his camera gear?
So for those of you who haven't picked up on this story, the wildlife photographer Marco Cabral has had his £1,250 prize withdrawn from the Wildlife Photographer of the Year because they have decided that the picture, and he doesn't have a raw file, not encouraging.
Right.
They decided that he had used and carefully positioned a dead anteater, which had been built, taxiderm, however you stuff animals, which was normally at the entrance to Emas National Park in Brazil. He carried it there to take some night photography and all his gear, as you say, and got a very beautiful picture, in all fairness, nighttime glow of the... ants glow?
I don't think so. Maybe they do. But, I mean, if you're going to go to that trouble, then, I would have taken other stuffed animals along and made a scene. Something out of, like, Snow White. And said, wow, look at this picture. Maybe that might have given the game away, but over-creative.
I think at that point you probably have given the game away. I mean, he clearly thought it was worth £1,000 to temporarily steal a stuffed animal, and maybe his mistake was putting it back afterwards.
Right.
So people.
What was the story then? So he took this there, and it's not his, and then he took it back.
It wasn't his because it was dead, and it was there at the entrance to the park, so people could go, "Ooh, anteaters!"
So it was in the front of the park. Wow.
I think so. I think that maybe that's what I read.
Okay.
Well, for creativity, that is pretty good. I mean, I think
it's
it should
better
be
than
something.
It's better than Photoshop.
Well, this
isn't
is it. It's actually a real thing, right? He didn't make it up.
Well, even if he didn't get any money, they could give him a creativity award for the
thing is,
audacious attempt at ripping us off.
He didn't have a raw file, and so they wanted that to check. Seems to me that if you have carried it there and made it stand still, because it's not going to not stand still, it's dead, and then taken its photo, you would have a raw file.
Yeah. I don't understand why he wouldn't have had one, but
so
all a bit weird. But good
good effort on his part.
Very good effort.
Also in the news, I captured this week, although very little to do with photography. Just remembering last time we were talking about Fukushima, and again, go back and listen to episode 0 if you haven't. I saw a bit about Chernobyl, which has now been completely covered by this huge sort of shielding thing to prevent any radiation coming out of the main. I mean, you don't want to live there or hang around, but then what they've got is all of this the equipment around to transmit large amounts of electricity to nearby towns and what have you. The stuff that attaches to a power station. So they've started putting in a solar plant. People go in during the day, work there, get the hell out of there.
Yeah.
And that's a big plan in the Ukraine.
Wow. I still wouldn't want to spend more than a few hours in it. Well, I mean, these people coming in every day, right?
I think a solar panel maybe a different person, but I presume they've thought about it. But yeah, it doesn't seem...
But long-term effects of this stuff is just...
Yeah, I'd
dodgy.
I'd like to go from a tourism perspective, for me to go there for a few hours and take pictures and run around and do my own thing. I'd love to do that, but I'm not too sure as an employee of someone working underneath a big hunk of metal which is capturing the sun's rays.
Yeah, you would wonder, as an employee, that guy says it's fine, but then he said the other power station was fine.
So much, even in Fukushima, there was so much debate over whether it's safe, whether it's not, and even I, at one point, I did loads of research before I went there, but when it's the radioactive, what's it called? We're being completely non-technical here.
Radiation.
The radiation levels are going up. The jet lag is just too much. Radiation levels are going up on the machine thing. Yeah. There is a name for that. Yeah. Device.
The radioactive meter.
The radioactive meter. The Geiger counter, that's it. And you have to wonder, is this really safe? I mean, it was the equivalent of a CT scan, but if you're there all day, that's just a constant CT scan that's going on, and that cannot be good for you.
And you're saying CT scans are bad for you?
If you have,
if you have them all the time, if it's literally a constant CT scan...
You're only supposed to have...
which one's the CT? CT is the brain one or the arm one?
Well, it can go anywhere. It's CT scan. I've had CT scans on my knee and all sorts. If you have too many...
I'm never going... next time I feel like something's not right, I'm not going to the hospital, because...
We went into medical podcast then all of a sudden.
Yeah. Mix it up a little bit,
That's fine.
You can do one on medical photography next time. Even better.
Talk about CT scans.
Yeah, exactly.
Why not?
I mean, on which subject? It is weird that X-rays and stuff are still so blurry, and so you would have thought over the years that
they've got a bit clearer, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, have you seen the eye ones now? So now you can get a picture of the back of your eye. I wear contact lenses, so I have these extra checks done. And the last time I went, they used this really snazzy machine. The optician said, "This is a new machine that we've got, right? Loads of wires," and turned it on. It was like, "Rrr." Took a picture, and it was so clear. And it was the back of my eye. You could see every little vessel, and it was actually a little bit odd to see that, but it was very, very high res.
We've got those in New York, in the US. We've got the same machines.
Yeah.
And the first time that I went for my eye test, he brought this big machine down. I thought, hang on a minute, where's those little things they just put in to say, can you see left, right,
exactly.
1 and 2, and all this
That's
kind of
fine. Last time I had, admittedly, I was probably like 12 last time. I was like, yeah, you'll be fine for now. Come back when it starts to go when you're 40.
That's right. So I've just gone over that hill, so my eyes are slowly going downhill, unfortunately.
Oh, my eyesight's pretty bad. Contact lenses, but of course, when you're shooting as well, and staring at a laptop all day.
Yeah, that's right. I used it's the EVF in the Sony has got a little screen in the back rather than it being optical.
Yeah.
And I've always a question mark. Does that have effect on my eyesight? I wonder.
I mean, it bothers me that because you can see something whether it's in focus or not without an EVF.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, you use Sony's
I've used
like
it for
professionally for a long time. I switched to Sony just because I didn't like carrying a big hulk of stuff around, and then I bought a big heavy lens. So,
right.
But does it not bother you that you can't see that focus? Can you?
I've not had a problem with it. I normally know if it's nailed on focus, the dots are enough for me to know. But I shoot with both eyes open, so I've got a good idea of what I'm looking at there, and what's in there is going to be sharp. So I've not had a problem with it, and I've tried with Fuji. All of them have got the mirrorless have got the EVF now, and I've not really had an issue with kind of guessing if it's in focus or not. The mirrorless is I think all of the systems have got very good auto-focusing system if you're using that. But in terms of the peak focusing, they're amazing. So that's where I normally use manual focus. I would say probably, as long as it's not a fast-moving event, 70% of the time is manual anyway. So I just look for that peak focusing shrill to come up around the outside of the contrast, and I know I've got it right. So. But yeah, I've not had a problem with the EVF screen, if that was your question. Which I went very round the houses towards that, I guess.
Yeah, but people want the detail, don't they?
Yeah, I guess.
Has it got better because you get to use more Sony equipment than?
Yeah, well, the first EVF, which I think was in the old A99 before the mirrorless came out.
Oh, right.
That was good, but the resolution on it wasn't great. But you knew everything was sharp and you could see everything clearly. On the A7 II it was improved. I've got the new A99 II, and that's great. And I think it's improved further on the A7R3. I think it's even got higher resolution now. They're very, very good. So I've not had a problem with my question is that with all EVFs, how does that affect my eyesight? Because effectively you're looking at a screen less than a few inches from your eye.
But not for too long.
When you're shooting all day.
We'll probably not know for generations because, if you think, we're getting a bit deep now here, but we haven't really had that level of people looking at screens for enough time to actually be able to monitor what effect it's going to have.
Grant was pretty clear on what happens when you stare at the sun, and a photon is a photon, no?
Well, that's right. So we don't know, and we don't know. It's like when people said they were going to start vaping instead of smoking cigarettes. We don't know what the long-term effects of that is yet. So we will
keep an eye on them. There seem to be two distinct looks to that. But the hipster vape and the I was going to ask you actually on the subject of the other thing about going to the Sonys, what sort of reaction do you get from clients? Because it is a noticeably smaller camera body than.
Yes, if I've turned up to do an event, I had the A7R2. I haven't got the A9, but I had the A7R2 that I took to a few events. And particularly for photojournalism as well. I took it to the New York Motor Show to shoot that. I took the A7R2 with me, and everyone's walking around with these big cameras, and I'm there with the Sony. I think I was the only shooter there, the only Sony shooter there that day. So the clients don't normally care so much unless you're, if you turn up into a studio and you want to do some portraits, and they look at your camera and they're like, it's a bit small. It's not the size that counts, it's the image quality, of course. So you do get the odd look, but for doing the large scale events, not so much. It's normally the peer group when you turn up for doing photojournalism stuff. And everyone's got these big donkey Nikons and Canons and God knows what else. And I get my camera out. Yeah, bless. That's right. Yeah, but I think that my chiropractor is probably a good 20 years away from me seeing him on a daily basis just yet. So I have the last laugh there. So yeah, I do get the odd look from probably my peer group more than anything else for pro work. I
can imagine that actually. Yeah. It was interesting at the UK photo show that was when was that now? Over a month ago? Maybe a month ago.
A little over, yeah.
Yeah, wow, time flies. But it was interesting seeing people walking around there. And, you've got people with these huge cameras. And
why take a camera to a photo show?
It was really, from an observational perspective, it was really interesting. And I wish I'd actually taken pictures of them. But yeah, with all their gear out, just walking around, and you think it's just showing off what they have. But actually, when you boil that all down to quality and what you actually need to do to get the job done, do you need all of that? Probably not.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Does it matter? It's what's what the end result is.
No,
really.
no, you're absolutely right. And the mirrorless cameras, the image quality on them are exceptional. I don't use the A7 and the A7 series unless I'm really worried about weight. I'm going to be out all day, that kind of thing. But 90% of the time, I've got the A99 II with me, which is DSLR sized. Well, it's a mid-sized kind of body, so it's still hefty, it's still big. So there's a few circumstances I don't take the A7 with me. I take the A99 II with me every time.
I remember switching down from a fairly chunky cat, I think 7, and people were like, "Well, that camera can't be as good," and I'm like, "It's a lot better in most respects." Yeah,
it is. Yeah, and I think the only problem I've got with all of the mirrorless cameras right now is the not many of them got an LCD display on the top. You can't use the AV wheel to go below than -3 UV, which is frustrating for me. So on the big bodies you can go right down to 5. So there's a few things that you can't do that you have to be a little bit aware of, and that's the reason why I haven't jumped into them full time just yet. But
my thumb's a bit big for the
mirrorless. Yeah, they are. They're very small. If they made the mirrorless just the body just a teeny bit bigger, which I guess would ruin the concept, but I'm curious to see where cameras are going to go. If it's going to be like mobile phones years ago, they went from really big to the smallest things you could possibly buy. And then what happens? They were big again.
Yeah.
They went huge. So
and now mine's medium size.
That's right. Well, are we going to go down the same route with cameras eventually? Are we going to go down? We're going to go down to a micro size, and people are going to say, "I've had enough of that. I want more buttons, or I want more of this on my camera," and they're going to get bigger again.
I mean, I think, and very interested to know what other people think, but I think the smart money is on the DSLR market never going away. But the cheaper ones just sort of fading out. So the lower end of the DSLR market will stop being cheap. There won't be like the 1000Ds, that kind of model. That market will be people who have smarter phones, multi-lens arrangements. The 2 lenses on the iPhone, and then the Google have that. Or are they investors? I think in the camera that has 17 lenses.
17, yes, they are. I think they are.
Crazy.
So that's going to be very interesting when that comes out. I mean, you can buy one now for nearly £2,000.
Can you? I think you can buy them. They're available to consumer now, aren't they?
They're available to some people.
No, it's like Google Glass.
It's everything
like that.
Yeah, I've got some of those lying around.
Yeah, so everyone thought that was going to be the next big thing, right?
We were wrong.
Oh no!
Actually, if anyone wants some completely unused, unopened packet, because there was something wrong with the first ones and Google had to send me some new ones. By the time they did, I didn't want them anymore.
Second, that you can, we'll sell both of ours because mine's sitting at home gathering dust.
Hey, I'll try it out. I've never tried it, so
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll have to open the packet though. So.
Oh, too much effort.
Okay, so let's talk a bit about the kind of work you do.
Okay.
With specifically what you've just done. So one of the things you do, because you take a lot of different work, don't you?
Yes, I do.
As a professional, which is, you don't claim a specialism particularly, or do you?
No, I don't really. Against all the advice I normally give other photographers, but they come to me and they say they want to get started, and I say, okay, you want to find your niche and keep hitting the button and making sure people know about that niche. I'm completely the opposite way. I specialise in nothing. I do an awful lot of travel photography, which I really enjoy. I do events. I do portraiture. I do headshots. I do workshops. I do a ton of different things. And the reason I spread my net so widely was that, particularly when I first started out, I really wasn't too sure what I wanted to get specialised in, and I was given work from many different areas. So I stayed with it, and people got to know me for one genre. Some people knew me for another, and for me to try and cut off all of those clients and say, okay, I'm only going to do portraiture now, or I'm only going to do events, was too much for me. I would have taken too much. It doesn't matter which one I'd have taken away, it would have been too much bread off the table for me to deal with. So I kind of stayed with it. I do get a little bit of work, a bit of agency work now and again. I do a little bit of photojournalism too. I really didn't want to stop doing all those things, because all that variety kept me fresh. So as we were talking about the 50mm before we started recording, as you're doing all these other things, you kind of forget that you forget the skills that you've got with one particular lens that you used to have, right? A lot of the other work that I've been doing had stopped me picking up that 50mm. Had I been doing a bit more portraiture, I think I'd have been using it a bit more. But so I picked that 50mm up and I went out for the day and I rocked it. And it was having all my other skills that I've had in different genres that have given me the ability to do that. Which has been a good strength of mine.
But it's interesting. I love the fact that you've got such a wide, variety of photography. But is there one that you gravitate to more than the others, or is it a case of you just equally embrace them all?
I think if you replace the word gravitate to enjoy.
Yeah.
I enjoy doing the travel photography more than anything else, partly because it scratches my travel itch, as well as my, being able to see architecture, cityscapes, going out shooting landscapes and exploring the world. That's really the bit that I love doing. Is it the most profitable for me? I'm not too sure. There's other areas which I make more money in and a bit more lucrative for me. And I love doing photojournalism too, and you can include a lot of travel photography with photojournalism as well. So those two things I really, really enjoy doing. I absolutely love doing them. But like I said, I do the odd wedding, but I'm doing less and less now. And that's probably one of the specialties that I had, so to speak, air quotes, that I disliked.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that.
People ask me to do them, and I push my prices up each time, and people still pay me. So I'm like, damn it.
There's some money in it.
There is.
Is it enjoyable? It's just pressure.
Not.
I just see it
you can only get them wrong, right?
Yeah. Well, that's right. That's right.
You can get them right in Hanover, but there is so much.
And you're right. And even though the pressure of shooting the day, but it's also having to deal with the amount of people that you've got to deal with all in one go. And after a long day, I can be a bit cantankerous. So the last thing I need is people jumping up and down on me towards the end of the day.
You missed out the third bridesmaid.
Exactly, that kind of thing.
Or things like, can I see the picture that you've just taken?
That's right.
Can I have another one? And I didn't like that one. And you're thinking, oh, Jesus,
that's right.
Forever, So,
and any of my clients, I love you all if they're listening now. I do. That's probably the one I have least enjoyment in.
Yeah.
But I'm doing less and less of that purely for that reason. But I do a lot of varied work, and that keeps me fresh, and I like that variety. It keeps me on my toes. I'll do a lot of the other thing I do a lot of is internal architecture as well, for some high-end real estate in New York. Now, one of the other things that I've been doing that I learned over the last few years is taking 360 as doing virtual reality work with DSLRs, and that's great.
Sounds like, and isn't tiresome and technical, and you have to spend ages in virtual, or is that?
No, it's the biggest part of 360 photography is making sure you get your nodal point correct, or your node point of parallax. So making sure that the light that enters your lens is right over the point of the tripod when you do your spins. As long as that's absolutely nailed on, when you come to do the stitching in post-production, it's a doddle. So I've got 2 platforms that I use. I'm Google certified, but I'm also using a one called 360 Vista. And you put all of your images in there, all your HDR images that you've shot in pano form. It stitches them all together for you, and then you tag them all together as a tour. But you do get some challenges with lens flare. You do get some challenges, particularly when you do the HDR processing. Some rooms are a lot brighter than others, particularly when you get near the window. So that can be a bit of a challenge to making sure you get the light balance and the white balance consistent, because you can't have one person walking from one end of a huge living room to the other end, and next thing you know, the light shifted a little bit. The walls aren't quite white, and the floorboards aren't quite brown.
Yeah, it's probably been the better part of a decade since I tried anything like that. On any level, how much better is the software?
Unbelievable. So I shoot the highest resolution possible. So 42 megapixel on the A7R2. And the resolution is crazy high. It's just like a regular picture. So
there's a lot for the software to grip onto, and
So and without going too much of the technical shooting of 360, is that when you've got a room which is completely empty, which is just floor and maybe walls and maybe one window, when you're taking 6 panos, sometimes you do have trouble stitching because there's no detail anywhere. So there are some cheats that you can do. You can buy these little post-it stickers, faint yellow ones. I put them on the wall. And so what I do is then when I go through stitching, I stitch them all together. It finds those as reference points, and then post production I edit them out. I just clone them out.
Do you only do this kind of photography for your building stuff then, or do you do this out in the kind of real world, if you want to call it that? Because I'd imagine you'd get some amazing shots of landscape and during your travels, etc.
Yeah, you can do them that way. There is a couple of limitations. So, particularly with architectural stuff, you like shooting in HDR because you like getting the window pull right.
Right.
So when you're shooting outside, I would recommend only doing one frame. And if there's a lot of clouds, of course they shift. So in the stitching software, you have to be very careful about how you stitch, because you can only stitch from the land perspective, because that's the only bit that's not moving. But yes, you can totally do it on landscapes, that kind of thing, and it works really good with night sky. So if you want to do a night sky pano, they work really well. But you have to be fairly quick. You have to try and do all of them within 20 to 30 seconds, of doing the one shot.
Okay.
Because of the starships.
Because of Galileo.
Then, because of the starships, you do have to be a bit careful, but they do come out beautiful.
It's amazing, isn't it? A lot of things to think about there.
Or Copernicus, personally.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just going to sort of move us on, just because I'm aware that we're trying vaguely to keep to some time.
Okay, yeah, right.
Last time we did spend a bit of time looking at some specific images, and I think we're probably not going to spend too long on it, but I really like the idea of a feature where we have an audio masterclass for a visual world. So what we're going to look at, and I have to admit that's obviously Andy Zoltzman's line originally, we're going to have to take a few of your shots from your Instagram feed.
Sure.
And if you want to see these pictures, you can go to Dan's Instagram account, which is Dan M. Lee Photography, all one word. Yeah. And obviously you should follow him. And just scroll back until all of the pictures seem to feature orange people. Because this is where you've just come back from, right?
That's it, yeah. I've just come back from Amsterdam. So I finished King's Day, and what King's Day is, it used to be called Queen's Day, and it was celebrating the Queen's birthday, I believe. And they were going to stop it after the Queen turned to the King. And they decided they were going to lose a lot of revenue in drunk English people visiting the city. So they decided to keep it, the tradition. So it's a family day. They have lots of flea markets. They take away the licensing requirement for you to sell things on the street. So people go out and sell their rubbish outside or their worldly possessions. And they have all the canals. Everyone gets on the boats and goes up and down. Everyone wears orange. And it's a really nice party atmosphere. I think there's a festival for families. I've never made it that far just yet. So it's normally been wandering around Amsterdam, capturing people having fun, wearing lots of orange. So there's lots of people taking like that one there, that people taking a selfie. And it's funny, very unusual to see a guy say, "Hey, let's take a selfie together," and then probably do a duck pose straight after. That was highly amusing. One of the pictures that hasn't gone up just yet was one guy who actually fell in while he actually this guy here. So this guy here was talking to these, and I'm looking at one that was dated 3 days ago. He actually fell in just shortly after that picture was taken. I haven't edited it yet.
Picture with somebody just about to fall in is a fairly long lens shot of about 4 boats on the canal. You can see almost nothing but people in orange, and there are some people who are not in orange, so they presumably are the ones who deserve to fall in.
Yeah, they are, yeah. And you can see there's one boat on the left which are kind of remonstrating with these other guys on the boat on the right. And it's, that was right after that he fell in. And I just missed him falling in, and to my friend tapped me on the shoulder and went, "Look." I managed to capture him just after he hit the water, so to speak.
So, having been surrounded by huge crowds and stuff, what would you say is, from our audio masterclass point of view, what is your favourite thing to concentrate on? Like, are you looking for? Because I find if you see someone doing something brilliant, they'll have stopped by the time you're pointing a camera at them.
Yeah, well, it's normally I've got my 70 to 200, depending on how big the crowd is. So. Particularly for these boat shots, I stuck with the 70 to 200 because I know I could get into fairly tight frames like this one if I wanted to. So to get their attention, I wore a big orange jacket for the entire day. You couldn't miss me, and it was like day glow. I was all for Dynarod. If people don't know what that is, it's a
orange themed. Dynarod. They put their rod down your sewers.
Is that what it is? I have no idea what they did, but now I know. Anyway, so and I spent the day waving to people with one hand while I got the camera or the monopod on the other, just to try and get their attention. So,
did you find? So one of the challenges I find when I'm shooting things like this is you want to be a participant in it as well. Because obviously it's fun and everyone's having a great time. Did you mix it up, or were you just there to solely take photos?
Yes, yeah. What you mean? Did I have a good time?
Yeah,
I certainly did.
Did you take part in it? Obviously, you're wearing orange.
How much of a good time did you have? How in focus were things through your eyes?
On a scale of 1 to 10, it was a good 8.5. So I did get involved. I have got some pictures I haven't posted up, which are very wide of me within lots of people around me. There was I've got one picture which is almost Renaissance-esque. and it's got a group of kids sitting on this bench.
Yeah.
And one girl's leaning over like this with one arm in the air. She's very happy and drunk, and a guy sitting next to her very sad. You've got a couple in front of them kissing. It's everything is going on all in one picture. It's crazy.
Did he want to be part of that couple?
Yeah, that's right. It's just like I said, it's very Renaissance-esque. I think it's in my it was in my Instagram stories, because I think I transferred it over without editing it. So I did put it up in the raw, but it's probably disappeared now. But I will put it up. I'll show it to you after the podcast, so you can take a look at it. But there's lots of things like that which when you're in the thick of it, all these kind of scenes kind of come out of you in separate bits. So where everyone turns, it's normally a big crowd. By the time you're standing in the middle of everyone with a nice super wide lens, everything starts breaking up, and then you start being able to pick out certain groups and certain people, and then certain things that they're doing within it. I do mix it up, and I love doing that.
Yeah, I think you have to, don't you, with something like that.
Yeah, so it's great fun walking around with a long lens and picking out moments like the guy doing his duck pout.
That's great.
But then it's also equally getting involved in bits and pieces, and people, even if they're interacting with you, was great. And last time I went 4 years ago, I've got some great pictures of which is again in my Instagram feed. I think quite a lot further back. There was a couple which chained a rope to each other, tied a rope to each other, and I've got a picture where the guy's trying to reach some beer and his wife's pulling it back out the back, so he can't get it. So he's literally leaning out like this with his left hand, and she's pulling him back to say you can't have another beer. So there's lots of things like that I found while I was there.
Well, sometimes that's good advice.
Yeah.
And on that note, I think we should maybe say that's time for this week, month, indeterminate period. I really enjoyed looking at your pictures of Holland, of Netherlands particularly, and I guess, I know you can't post all of them, is that right?
Some of them I can't, but the majority of them will go up. I'm going to put another maybe 2 or 3 up that I really like. I've got to edit some. I haven't been back home to sit in front of Capture One and edit them all just yet, but noticed I didn't say Adobe. So I'll be back home to play with them in front of Capture One, and I'll probably get another 5 or 6 images up, I think, that I've enjoyed of shooting the crowd and bits and pieces, I think. I've got one short video of that needs to be edited to go up too.
Awesome. Okay, so that Instagram account is Dan M. Lee
Photography.
That's it.
And my website is of the same name, danmleephotography.com.
And are you ready to talk about your other website, or shall we talk about that sometime in the future?
We can talk about that now if you want. We can do both, because I'm a media whore, I guess.
Fair enough. So at least he admits it, and I think that is important for this next website, which is called
successfulphotographyusa.com.
So if you're American or in America, or in the UK.
In the UK, we have got that as well, but I can't remember the web address off the top of my head because I didn't.
Okay, so you don't have to feel American and
no,
US.
You don't at all.
Because I remember when I was a kid, like America didn't look quite cool, know. But now we have our doubts, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So on there you'll find we do online courses. We will be travelling around the US, helping photographers build their social media, how to get successful on Facebook, how to get business on LinkedIn, and also how to increase their SEO, attract more clients, and also be able to hopefully put their money up too, so they can earn more from their clients.
And that's good advice from somebody who does earn good money from clients as a full-time photographer.
And I cover a lot of genres, so and also I've had the I would want to use the word luxury, but I wouldn't necessarily put it that way, of going to the US and having to change the way I do my marketing completely for US market. It's a completely different animal altogether to how I was getting business here. The people are different, how you market is different.
But you're working with a UK-based photographer as well.
That's right.
So you'll get...
Yeah, that's right. So so Jeff Brown, he is a guy which helps UK photographers. So he's based up north somewhere. I can never remember where. He's probably going to strangle me when he listens to this. So he's been helping UK photographers for quite a while. He's got a great track record. So we've kind of teamed up. We're going to be taking some of his material, some of my expertise about how I got started and kept going in America, and we're going to be going on the road and hopefully helping other people become successful.
Awesome, that's really exciting. Well, hopefully you'll come back sometime and talk to us about that once it's all up and running.
Yeah.
Tanya, you are still at Tanya-N, right?
Yeah. I'm, embracing. You mentioned Instagram. I've got my own Instagram now. Slightly late to the game, but it's there.
Yeah, me too. I was late to the game as well. So
I just found it. The fact if you shoot with an SLR and you can't upload from your laptop without downloading some, dodgy software. I was just a bit reluctant to have it on my phone and then have to upload from my phone.
It feels very unfair, the whole thing. I'm sort of vaguely aware I can upload pictures from my phone. Yeah. Sorry, from my camera to my phone, but there's a fact to it.
But actually, now that I'm using it, I love it because the people I'm following are so inspiring, and it kind of helps you grow as a photographer as well. So that's Tanya Nagar Photography is my Instagram that I'm using. So check it out and let me know what you think. I'm always up for getting some feedback, as long as it's not abusive. I don't like abusive feedback. No, occasionally I do like abusive feedback.
Do you? Keep careful, internet. Careful. And I can be found at Juniperific. That's JUNIPERIFIC. Update it about once a year. No, I will try. I promise, internet, to make it a better effort. And you can also find the fruits of some of my labours at www.ilexinstant.com. That ILEXinstant.com. And that's my daily labours publishing books about photography, including Tanya's and at some point Dan's.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter too. I mentioned that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Dan Emily Photo, which you can find me on Twitter, which I'm probably more active on Twitter than I am Instagram, to be fair.
I think we should have a podcast on which, because this has always been the debate, right? What social media platform should you really use for your photography?
Oh, absolutely.
And you've got people using every single one out there, and I think I haven't got time. I do want to have a bit of a life as well. You know, if I glued to my phone just Twitter, Instagram, there's Flickr, obviously, that's a big one still. Do you
use if this then that?
I've never heard of that.
Okay.
If this then that is...
If this then that is going to save your life, because I post once to Instagram.
And it goes across to all of them.
And it puts it everywhere. Wow. So it puts it on Flickr, it puts it on Twitter, it puts it on Facebook.
And it can turn your light bulbs off at the same time. I kid you not.
Yes, it can.
That's good to know.
It does everything,
It's a good little function. So the problem with that is the different hashtags and the different nuances that you've got of each different platform. So that's the only thing that I think I'd rather still keep it.
You want to have...
and to be honest with you, if I'm not really... I've been fairly lucky because I'm not really so hung up on social media because that's not where I've got my work.
Yeah, of course,
So a lot of people do get their work that way. So and particularly the new photographers that are coming on board, they love to have that engagement with their user base.
Well, I think we should do a session on that actually, because I've seen all kinds of tactics.
We're now comfortably 20 minutes past the time we said we'd definitely finish. So why not? But since you are the expert, maybe when you're back in New York, we can try and push technology beyond the bounds of possibility. And you'd have to wake up in the morning though, because
wake up in the morning. I do eventually wake up in the morning.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thanks very much for watching or listening, and please subscribe. And please leave reviews on whatever platform, iTunes or the others, because that really would help us grow. Nice reviews, obviously. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.